The Court of Appeal at Abuja has fixed Wednesday to consider the merits of the application filed by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the reconfiguring of the bimodal voter accreditation system. We'll look at how this will affect the legal tussle for the presidency of Africa's biggest democracy. Digital, the innovation and technology for gender equality. Well, that's the theme of this year's International Women's Day. We're here on PlusTvAfrica. We'll be joining in the celebration while having a conversation on women empowerment and gender equality in tech. This ahead on the program. And of course, enough the press will be taking a look at what the papers say, analyzing some of the biggest stories of the day. This and more ahead of the breakfast. You're welcome, and it's a brand new day. We're here with the breakfast and PlusTvAfrica. We can't say enough of that. My name is Kofi Bartels writing. So this morning, once again, you're welcome. Happy International Women's Day. We're all celebrating the day. And like you heard in that tease, we have a conversation on women empowerment and gender equality, particularly in the tech sector. And of course, the 2023 election is a heavy conversation. We're talking about that. Let's kick things off with a look at some very important and trending stories. Is conversations the Nigerians are having on social media, some of the issues generating a lot of chit-chat on the space where you don't see people, you don't touch them, but you can see what they're typing or what they're posting. This one is from the United States of America. It's something we don't normally do. I have top trending stories from around the world, but a man was arrested for, allegedly trying to stab a flight attendant. So imagine that you are in an aeroplane, all right? Imagine that you are a flight attendant and you're tending to all the passengers in the flight. It was a normal day. You got dressed and you went to work, in the sky. I mean, flying in the sky alone is enough every day for a job, for a living. These guys who are, ladies and gentlemen who are flight attendants, I envy. I don't envy them, let me say. They're quite courageous. So flying for a job every day, you're in the sky with all the turbulence is enough to grapple with already. And then imagine you're just doing your job, serving, the passengers, and someone brings out a broken spoon, and then stabs you 3 times. Now, that is quite scary because you're in the sky. What is going to happen? Well, the gentleman who was arrested tried to stab a flight attendant. He broke a spoon, okay? Had a broken spoon on him and tried to stab the neck of the flight attendant 3 times. All right, this was in the United States of America on a flight from Los Angeles to Boston. Boston is in Massachusetts. Los Angeles is in California. Don't ask me how I know. And that's not where the man stopped. He attempted to open an emergency exit door of the aircraft. And you can see those exit doors. If it's a commercial aircraft, you have one at the left, one at the right. If you're sitting there, they'll ask you, are you sure you can sit here? Are you sure if there's an emergency, you'll be the one to open the door and all that? If you agree, it will now put you through the procedure and you have to listen to them. Those are the doors. One of them he tried to open. I mean, this is quite scary. Well, he's been arrested. We hear that he faces one charge of interference and attempted interference with flight crew members and attendants using a dangerous weapon. His name is Francisco Severo Torres. He's 33 years old. All right, and he was arrested at the Boston Logan International Airport on Monday, and he'll remain detained pending a hearing set for Thursday. I mean, you don't want such a person to be granted bail, do you? But during a United Airlines flight from Los Angeles to Boston, the flight crew saw an alarm. They saw an alarm that a door in the plane had been disarmed. And after inspection, a flight attendant saw the door's locking handle had been pushed out of the fully locked position, and an emergency slide arming lever had been disarmed. So this is what the flight attendant saw. Now, a flight attendant who saw the man, Torres, near the door went to talk to Torres about the door, according to what the Department of Justice in America said. And he asked if there were cameras showing that he had tampered with the door. Typical. Yeah, it sounds like an African. Had any cameras that showed that I was the one who touched his door? This is what we're told. So soon after that, the young man Torres is said to have gotten out of his seat, mouthing something, before thrusting towards one of the flight attendants in a stabbing motion with a broken metal spoon, after hitting the flight attendant on the neck area 3 times. 3 times. And thankfully, the passengers didn't sit down and do, consign me. They tackled the man and, wrestled him and took the dangerous item away from him. And he was immediately taken into custody after the flight landed. I mean, this would have been really, really a bizarre one if he succeeded in opening the door. I wonder what he wanted to do by opening the door. Did he want to jump off the plane? I don't understand. But these are the dangers, that we face every day. And I think that anytime we go out and, you go out to work or you travel or you move around for your business and you can go home, safely, you thank God for His grace and His mercy on your life to take you home to your family safely. When your loved ones go out, you pray. And when your loved ones come back home, you pray for them. You pray thanking God. When your children go out, you pray. And when they come back, you pray. We think it's only in Nigeria where we hear bizarre things. It happens all over the world. We all need God to help us to make it, today. Like MC Hammer sang. What did MC Hammer say, Oga? We got to pray just to make it today. I say we pray. All right, my cameraman in the studio is helping me with the lyrics. Okay, don't ask me my age, please, okay? So anyway, that's that. Quite bizarre. Someone will say, oh, these are some of the things we hear only in the United States of America. Say that somebody was in the plane, wanted to open. What was he thinking? He wanted to jump out, but we've had our own episodes, over here, but we don't have as much of these bizarre ones, Our own is a different ball game altogether. Okay. Moving on to the next one. This is something that concerns us, you and I. It's not in America or, like we say, in Nigeria or Bodo Yibo. But we still need to pray to make it today as far as this one is concerned. The banks have begun dispensing old Naira notes. In Lagos, we monitored and went around. We've seen, had reports from the different banks, that they began dispensing, not from the banks, but from people who've gone around to observe what's happening at the different banks in Lagos, Nigeria. They've begun dispensing the old Naira notes. However, we still have queues. The queues are still there. The banks say that they are yet to receive a directive from the Central Bank of Nigeria 3 days after the Supreme Court judgment. And this is what we see. Long ATM queues remain. I mean, yesterday I saw some persons on Victoria Island where we are sitting by an ATM waiting for it to start dispensing cash. Some people sleep at ATM machines or ATMs, so there are still queues. It's about more than 72 hours after the bank or the Supreme Court of Nigeria gave that judgment, okay? And it reversed the Central Bank of Nigeria's new Naira note introduction, a deadline, and said that Nigerians could use the old Naira notes alongside the new Naira notes till 31st of December 2023. Also saying that Nigerians had the right to withdraw any amount of money they wanted to withdraw from the banks. We hear that those queues, those lengthy queues we've been seeing over the past few weeks and months are still there, okay, are still there. Customers are still searching for cash for their needs. Even the POS agents are still facing the cash crunch. Yesterday, I had my own experience. I tried to order a consignment of sachet water. That's a staple in most Nigerian homes, especially if you live in a part of Lagos where you have to grapple with bad water. It's a thing. Everybody in Lagos at one place or point or the other has to go through that. But we get by. You get yourself sachet water. Even if you live in a part of Lagos where if you sink a borehole, it comes out good water, you still need sachet water at home just to for household, daily runs and stuff. So I was told by the security guy who normally just receives it and makes sure they are well arranged into the building that the sachet water company said they weren't coming because they don't want transfer. They don't want a bank transfer. They wanted cash. I said, "Oh Lord, God have mercy upon us. Where am I going to get this cash from?" It's crazy. I sent someone to use the POS for me to just withdraw some money. I wanted like maybe 20,000 naira, and he told me that he could only get out 3,000 naira. And for that 3,000 naira, I have to pay. How much is it again? Is it what, 600 naira or so? I said, "Oh my God, oh my God, only 3,000 naira." And for those who are queuing at these ATMs, only God knows how much they'll be allowed to withdraw. So the queues are still there. The banks are saying that, according to reports we hear, that they've not received any statement, any directive, any memo from the Central Bank of Nigeria, but some of them are gradually complying with the central bank's directive and issuing old notes to the customers. Okay, that's what we hear. If you want to go withdraw money, you can get the old note. For those of you who still have the old notes at home, maybe this is good news for you because you can spend it. I conducted an experiment yesterday in traffic. I saw a seller, plantain chip seller. There's a staple on streets in Nigeria. You can see people selling plantain chips. Okay, plantain chips. So I called him over. I said, "Okay, how much is your plantain chips?" He told me. God. I said, "Okay, give me one. I want to pay you, but I have old Naira notes. Would you accept it?" He said, "No, he's not going to accept it." I said, "Why?" "But you heard the court said." He said, "Well, people are not accepting it." Is what he told me. He said, "People are not. He can take it from me. He doesn't mind, but he says that if he wants to give it to anyone as change or anything like that, or maybe take it to the bank, that he will find it difficult, spending that money or paying it in. So it remains to be seen how many banks will accept deposits freely. Of course, you have to fill a lot of paperwork. We told you can even go to the central bank and deposit the money. The CBN Act is clear. You can take that money to the bank anytime. But what you have to go through to deposit that money is what people are afraid of. And from I can hear from my experiment, people are not yet open, to accepting because they don't know what's going to happen. Whether the president is going to say anything or he won't say anything till he leaves, what the directive will be, and nobody wants to lose their money. So the queues are still there, the lines are still there. The banks are slowly, gradually complying. Some of them, not all of them, from what was observed. But what they're saying is that they're yet to hear from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling to continue to accept the old Naira notes, data available suggests that there might not be enough of the old notes in circulation. This is according to Naira metrics. They're saying data available to them suggests that there might not be enough of the old notes in circulation. So the problem is not whether it's the old note or the new note. That's not the problem. The problem is circulation of money, amount of money in circulation. That is the issue. That is the issue, not the notes, but circulation. How many copies, how many Naira notes are out there for people to withdraw, for people to use? That's the issue. That's the issue. Okay? So we hope that things will change because we have not been told by the Central Bank of Nigeria what they're going to do. Are they going to increase the number of Naira notes in circulation? Are they going to maintain the status quo? Because if they maintain the status quo, like I said, then that's the issue, scarcity. Will I be able to buy my sachet water at home? Will someone on the street be able to buy his or her plantain chips? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that if the person is not accepting a transfer? So these are the issues that we're waiting for clarity, for understanding. And it's really sad to see, heartbreaking actually, that people are still spending hours at the ATM points simply to withdraw money. It's really sad. And when you withdraw the money, of course, you're going to spend it. The reason I've not gone out to try to stand any of these lines is because, I'm saying, okay, if I withdraw the money, I'm going to go spend it. And when I spend it, am I going to go back to the ATM and queue for a whole day? It's crazy. It's crazy what's happening in Nigeria. Really crazy. We'll leave it at that to move on to our next top trend. And this one is it concerns the census, the population census that is meant to hold this year. I remember the last one that held in 2006. I was a part of it. It was supposed to be ad hoc stuff, and I think I've told my story before. But let's not get into that for now. What has got people talking is the fact that the Central Bank of the National Population Commission, or rather the federal government of Nigeria, is saying that it needs a humongous amount of money. We're talking about 869 billion naira, right? 869 billion naira to conduct the 2023 population and housing census. If you forgot that they're going to count houses as well, you have to know. They call it an enumeration. Well, don't forget that the federal government of Nigeria announced in April 2022 that it would conduct the census in April 2023 after the elections. But on Monday, there was a high-level partner engagement in Abuja where the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, he said the federal government had provided 46% of the budget, and there's an outstanding amount of 327.2 billion naira needed to carry out the census effectively. And so the things people were asking, okay, we gave INEC more than 300 billion naira, and look at what we got. How sure are we that there won't be questions after we vote such a huge amount of money for the population census? So some of the questions, that people are asking. But I think that hopefully the money can be raised. I hope it can be raised because we really need to have this population census. The issue is never the money per se. It's more about the credibility of the process. People have talked about INEC. People have said we have a federal institution, who has received a huge amount of money. In fact, a lot of conditions were broken for INEC. A lot of rules were bent for them, while the rest of Nigerians had to grapple with, a lot of stress to get new Naira notes and could not withdraw more than a certain amount of new Naira notes from the banks and the ATMs and all that. The Independent National Electoral Commission had a waiver to get new Naira notes from the Central Bank of Nigeria to prosecute the 2023 elections. And I said at the time that some of those who receive these new Naira notes are the drivers, the members of NURTW or Lagos State Parks and Garages, if you're in Lagos, who are meant to drive this car for them. But that's another story for another day. So the law of rules are bent, and then we see what happened on the 25th of February, where in parts of the country, the election amounted to what broad day or daylight robbery, let's call it that. So people are asking, what's the purpose if we spend such an amount of money and can't see an election where everyone will agree it's credible? The hope is that the National Population Commission will use the money judiciously and will be able to organize a credible census, because census is like election. People want to rig. We have a history of rigging census in this country, believe it or not. Believe it or not. People have said to INEC, you want to reconfigure the BVAS used for the presidential and national assembly elections with all the amount of money budgeted for you, which amounts to more than 1 billion naira every day, in 1 year. Couldn't you have gotten a second set of BVAS devices to use for the state governorship and houses of assembly elections? And so it is hoped that the NPC, if this amount of money is made available to them, 869 billion naira, that is 327.2 billion naira outstanding, that they will not give Nigerians a population and housing census that they will complain about. In the past, my father of blessed memory, Mr. C.J. Bartels, used to say that people count cows, and count rams and sheep, and goats in population census just to make up the numbers. It's terrible. We need truth. We need transparency. We need credibility in these processes. Different parts of the country, north, south, east, and west. Everyone is trying to, get the advantage. Or let's add up the numbers. So we can have more allocation. Have more of the national cake and all that. And that's what happens. I witnessed it personally in 2006, and we need to change. We need to change. So it's hoped that such an amount of money made available will not be a waste at the end of the day. Let's take a break. When we come back, Tunde Kolawole, legal practitioner, joins us as we flip through the pages of today's national dailies to analyze some of the biggest stories on the front pages. Please stay with us.